U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris made her first appearance with her new running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
Since the day that I announced my candidacy, I set out to find a partner who can help build this brighter future. So, Pennsylvania, I'm here today because I found such a leader. Governor Tim Walz of the great state of Minnesota.
Harris's selection of Walz ends 3 short weeks of vetting by the Harris campaign. The duo will now tour 7 key swing states over 5 days, stretching from Wisconsin to Nevada. CBC's Richard Madden has been watching today's developments for us from our Washington bureau, and he joins us now. So, Richard, let's start with this rally. You were watching it along with us as well. What stood out to you?
Yeah, in a word, energy, because you talk to any Democrat in this town, say for the past month, and they really felt like they were walking into their own funeral this November. But the past few weeks has really turned things around for Democrats, and Vice President Kamala Harris leaning in to that Minnesota nice by selecting Governor Tim Walz as her running mate. He's a folksy, charming Midwesterner with progressive credentials and backing of labor unions. I thought she would have chosen Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, who gave the opening, a dynamic opening at that rally tonight in Philadelphia. And Tim Walz really leaned in, though, to his Midwestern roots when he introduced himself to American voters earlier tonight. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I learned the art of compromise without compromising my values. Minnesota's strength comes from our values, our commitment to working together, to seeing past our differences, to always being willing to lend a helping hand. Those are the same values I learned on the family farm and tried to instill in my students. I took it to Congress and to the state capitol, and now Vice President Harris and I are running to take those very values to the White House.
So Walz, of course, is a 2-term governor. He's a former congressman, teacher, military veteran, football coach, proud gun owner, whose Midwestern style and his small-town roots is being leaned upon to attract more moderate and independent voters skeptical of a Harris presidency. But Walz is more than just this Minnesota nice that he's being branded. The role, of course, as a vice presidential candidate is to also be an attack dog. And we heard Walz unleash some of his attacks to this crowd who really ate it up. Take a listen to what he had to say when it comes to Donald Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance.
I got to tell you, pointing out just an observation of mine that I made. I just have to say it. You know it, you feel it. These guys are creepy and, yes, just weird as hell. That's what you see. That's what you see. So you know what's out there, so say it with me. We aren't going back. We aren't going back.
So there you go, game on. And this really caps 3 frenzied weeks as Team Harris tried to vet potential running mates. And Walz was once considered a long shot in these Veep stakes, but he quickly vaulted to top contender with lines like what you just heard moments ago. So clearly this ticket is underway. And, you know, Walz is going to he made his debut tonight. And as you mentioned off the top, this kicks off a ambitious tour hitting 7 swing states in 5 short days. And of course, this leading up to their convention in about 2 weeks from now. And the party is really hoping to build upon this enthusiasm and energy when both Harris and Walz are finalized as a Democratic ticket.
Yeah, Richard, it is interesting just how much traction he's gotten with that weird comment in the last little while. We'll see what else he comes up with. Speaking of reaction, but from the Republican Party, how are they responding to this pick?
Yeah, pretty quick. Republicans, no surprise here, painting the Harris-Walz ticket as an extreme left-wing agenda and zeroing in on Walz's slow response to quell the unrest in Minneapolis after the George Floyd murder a few years ago. Take a listen to what J.D. Vance had to say earlier today.
Tim Walz's record is a joke. He's been one of the most far-left radicals in the entire United States government at any level. But I think that what Tim Walz's selection says is that Kamala Harris has bent the knee to the far left of her party.
So remember, this has been somewhat of an adjustment for Team Trump because they built their campaign to focus on Biden-Harris. But now it's Harris-Walz. So a lot of their prior ads, their messaging, their branding, their commercials are out the window. But the other big question now, and this is what we'll be watching for, is will Harris and Trump debate each other in a televised debate? It's unclear where or if those negotiations are still happening. But as we heard Vice President Harris say, 92 days until the election, and the dynamics and the race has completely changed.
Yeah, this race is keeping everyone on their toes. Richard, thanks so much. That's Richard Madden in our Washington bureau. And let's dig a little deeper into this first campaign rally with Democratic strategist Michael Starr Hopkins. And he also joins us from Washington, D.C. Michael, thanks so much for making time.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So what did you make of this first appearance of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz together?
It was an electric rally. What we saw was the Midwest coming together with a governor, or rather a former attorney general, U.S. senator, now VP, to really unify the party. It's the vision that Democrats have wanted to see for a while, and now we're getting to see it firsthand.
I fell down a bit of a rabbit hole on X, looking at photos of Tim out and about, Tim Walz out and about, petting animals, hugging a piglet, doing all of these, folksy kind of things that do play to his image. How do you think he's going to use that on this bigger stage and be able to stay tuned into that when, I mean, you're polished up for the, national audience?
Well, I think one of the things that people love about Governor Walz is how authentic he is. On one hand, he knows how to, change a tire and change some oil. And on the other hand, he also knows how to head up the Lesbian and Gay Straight Student Alliance. He's somebody who's comfortable talking to Joe Manchin and at the same time comfortable talking to AOC. He really knows how to bridge the gap. And I think that that's something that Democrats have been wanting for so long. Someone who can both appeal to the rural sectors of the party, white males especially, but also can talk to progressives and really make sense of things like legalizing marijuana and criminal justice reform, healthcare reform, things that really matter both to the liberal wing of the party and the more moderates.
How well do you think he's going to fit into that attack dog role that our correspondent was mentioning that the VP often plays here? I mean, we heard him tonight sort of take off the gloves a bit. When going into it, I thought we were just going to get this Minnesota nice version of him. But he did really criticize Trump. He had some comments about he doesn't know the first thing about service. He doesn't have time for it because he's too busy serving himself, things like that. But how will he stand up to, say, the likes of J.D. Vance if they were to debate?
I think it's going to be a fantastic performance. If you kind of look at his makeup and the way that he talks, you said Minnesota nice. I think that's a perfect way to describe it. But one of the things that makes that Minnesota nice have such a sharp edge is he can say things with a smile, but land like a punch. And so you saw that tonight with the way that he talked about J.D. Vance and taking him on in that debate, and the way that he talked about how the crime rate's down under President Biden and up under President Trump. Those attacks landed, and it sounds in a way that is diametrically opposed to the way that Donald Trump talks, the way that he castigates and really vilifies people. And so I think it's his way of being able to talk about the issues and critique without coming off as mean-spirited.
Trump's campaign put out a statement earlier today saying that just like Kamala Harris, Tim Walz is a dangerously liberal extremist. I wonder how you think voters who might be on the fence coming up to this election, how they would view him, and if perhaps the Democrats missed an opportunity to pick someone maybe a little bit more centrist.
I think Governor Walz is a lot of things, but, calling him a far left person isn't one of them. Governor Walz is a regular guy. Look, he's a teacher. He's He's a former football coach. He's someone who served our country. He took the state of Minnesota from having a deficit to a $9 million surplus. He legalized marijuana. He's what you want out of Americans in terms of serving their country and coming home and being of service to their community. And so the idea that Donald Trump is going to throw around some words to denigrate him doesn't surprise me. But what it shows is they don't have a message. All Donald Trump can talk about is negativity, but what he can't put forth is a vision, and a positive vision for how we move the country forward. That's why Kamala Harris has done so well over the last, almost 3 weeks now, because she has given the country a chance to hope again.
Okay, so what's the strategy moving forward here with, we mentioned this campaign tour that the two of them are going to take, Harris and Walz, over the next few days through some swing states. How are they going to strategize that, or how could they strategize that to make the most of it?
Yeah, so what Democrats really want to do is they want to continue to drive up enthusiasm. This is going to be a turnout election at the end of the day. And so what you're going to see from Donald Trump is he's going to attempt to turn out white males, especially non-educated non-educated white males. He's going to try to overturn them out. What you're going to see Democrats attempt to do is turn out young people, African Americans, and women. And with the addition of Governor Walz, you're now going to see them try to chip away a little bit at that white male support. And if they're able to do that, that's the coalition that put Barack Obama in the White House twice and gave them a majority in both the House and the Senate.
Okay, Michael, always great to get your insights. Thanks so much for your time this evening.
Anytime. You guys take care.
That was Michael Starr Hopkins. He's a Democratic strategist, and he joined us from Washington, D.C.